Good afternoon and welcome to the Bard Graduate Center on behalf of the director, Susan Weber. It's my pleasure to open this symposium marking the launch, the start, the opening of the exhibition, the Codex and Crafts in Late Antiquity. Just as a small side note, it's pretty great that there is such a large fan base for the history of the early Codex. Before I say a few words, just a reminder, we have programs. What the programs don't say is that you should turn off your cell phones and make a note to suppress any audible comment until the appropriate moments either of coffee break or question answer period at the end of the day. This exhibition and the accompanying one on Margaret Mead's textile collecting in Bali are the 14th and 15th focus exhibitions that we have put on here at the Bard Graduate Center. And these projects, which you'll hear a little bit more about in a moment from the person who runs the focus project, are collaborative efforts within the institution. And having done so many of them, it's worth acknowledging by name the principals who are responsible, really, for producing them. First of all, Susan Weber, the director, who's been behind this initiative from the start. Nina Stritzler-Levine, director of the gallery, who was instrumental in bridging this connection between the academic side of the institution and the exhibiting side. Ivan Gaskell, who is the head of the project and who has to use his word, not mine, midwifed these projects into existence. And also the really marvelous team in the gallery who work behind the scenes. Marianne LaMonica, the associate director, Jeremy Johnston, the exhibition designer, Daniel Lee, the director of publishing, Kate DeWitt, the art director, and Jesse Morandi, director of the Digital Media Lab. All of these people have worked many hours collaboratively on bringing this exhibition as well as its sister exhibition on Bali into existence, and really deserve to be commended. And for this symposium, Laura Minsky, the associate director for research programs, has been the tireless and perfect manager of details. So that's the institutional commitment to this project and form of project. There's one other point that I would like to raise, and then I'll cede the podium, and that is in the title for this symposium, the final word is conservation. And that's actually not the final word, it was the first word, and it's the reason why we're all here. Georgios Boudalis is a conservator, and he came to the Bard Graduate Center as a research fellow, not under the auspices of, but inspired by and drawn here, drawn to our attention by our ongoing project, Cultures of Conservation, which has been supported very generously by the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. And the goal of that project was to see in conservation an interlocutor for all of those interested in the cultural history of the material world. That's to say, conservators have, conservation scientists have a kind of knowledge of things, how things are made and how they live, how they change over time. That is essential for anybody interested in pursuing some understanding of the life of things. And so Georgios coming to the institution as a fellow, then returning as a visiting professor, and then returning again as a curator is really, I think, an example of the kind of intellectual contribution that conservation and conservators can make to the humanists who are interested in understanding the past through its material remains. In that sense, along with its, I think, very important contributions to scholarship, as we will hear about over the course of this afternoon, and as those of you who take the time to read the catalog either have or will surely find, this project is also a kind of paradigm for what conservation and conservators could do in the future. And in that sense, we're delighted to be able to offer all of you a glimpse of what the future of the study of things could look like. And with that, it's my pleasure to invite to the podium Ivan Gaskell, head of the Focus Project.
How wonderful to see the room crammed for what I'm sure is going to be an extremely stimulating afternoon. Of course, the one person in the Focus project whom Peter could not mention or did not mention was himself. So I also want to draw your attention to the leadership role that Peter has had in conceiving and sustaining the Focus project, and indeed the entire intellectual life of this wonderful institution. This is indeed the 14th and 15th pair of, or the 14th and 15th Focus projects, and the program opened to a public, at least it became visible for the first time, only in January 2011. And so there's been a steady flow of these projects ever since. And the idea of the project, of the program as a whole, is to bring our faculty, visiting faculty, our postdoctoral fellows, to a point at which they are comfortable with exploring ideas through exhibiting. So many academics are comfortable and used to writing dissertations, writing articles, writing monographs, but not to manipulating things to express ideas. And so the impulse behind the Focus program is to encourage just that, the growth of just that set of skills. And I did a quick breakdown of the categories, if you like, of those who've taken part in these, who have conceived of these projects. And they include 4 senior faculty members, 2 junior faculty members, 3 visiting faculty members, 5 postdoctoral fellows, and 1 curator in the gallery. So I think that's a wonderful distribution, and showing how the development of these skills can be distributed. And of course the topics are so varied. I know full well that unless you have very good excuses, you are all going to be here for fabricating power with Balinese textiles on Monday. It's really, really one of the great things about this place is the variety of topics that we address. We are addressing, of course, as you all know, the early Codex in the ancient Mediterranean, and I'm sure most of you are thoroughly attuned to the classical world. But I want just to pause for one moment to acknowledge that we are in a classical place ourselves. We are gathered on the ancestral lands of the Lenni-Lenape peoples, their neighbors and kin. And I just want to pause for a moment for us to acknowledge that connection to the